Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional. On the day the war started, our like Ukrainian spirit and our Ukrainian belonging raised momentarily. We need to stick together. We need to support each other. Everyone kind of became very supportive right away. My manager as well, he was super supportive. All our leadership, they were super supportive. Most of Ukrainians, we do have a strong imposter syndrome. And this is something that we are not talking about in Ukraine, and this is something that we barely acknowledge. Some part of our mentality or some part of our culture, I think that we're always trying to be modest. We don't really sell ourselves, you know, like when we are applying for the job, we think that our experience will talk for itself, but apparently it is not always the case. What's okay in Ukraine, just doing your job the best you can, is not really enough here in Netherlands, you know, especially when you're applying. You don't really just need to do your job best, but you also need to interview your best, you know?
Could you tell us a bit more about how the situation in Ukraine affected your relocation to Amsterdam?
That's a good question, actually. Well, when I was approached by Miro, I was relocated here to Amsterdam by Miro. I hope you know the company. This is a visual platform for innovation. And I was still back in Kiev. And I was considering opportunity moving abroad. And then I was approached by one of the recruiters working for Miro. And they were like, would you like to consider this job at Miro, like business recruiter? I'm like, yes, of course. I would love to do that. And they were offering relocation support and everything for me and my partner and for all our, and my dog as well, for everyone.
Wow.
At the same time, the situation in Ukraine was escalating because, you know, the war in Ukraine is happening right now really actively. And back then it was 2022 and the war did not started yet. But everyone were talking about that. It was December 2021 when I was approached by Miro. And I was like, I received an offer in December, and we were planning to relocate in March. Actually, we were planning to relocate to Amsterdam in March. We started preparing our visas and documents because Ukrainians, they are out of EU, so we need visas to come in and work here. And we were like, okay, we can take 3 months for relocation because Miro was offering this opportunity to take time to prepare everything. And at the same time, everyone were asking, like, how is the situation in Ukraine? How is it? I'm like, everything is fine, you know, nothing is happening. And then one day on February 22, war started right away, like with rocket strikes in Kiev, with rocket strikes all over the biggest cities of Ukraine. And we were like, wow, we need to move now real fast. When we were planning to move in the end of March, it's like middle of February, end of February. And we were like, okay, now we need to move real fast. And then it was such an intense and stressful situation for everyone. We were like, everyone from biggest cities in Ukraine, they started moving closer to the border with Poland, and it created the collapse on the roads. It created collapse in the cities in the west of Ukraine, because, you know, those cities, they are smaller. They were not created for people coming in from bigger part of Ukraine. So it was quite a stressful moment and quite a challenging situation. But honestly, I received so much support from Miro and from back then. Grigory Pavlovsky Grisha, he was a CEO, Chief Operations Officer at Miro. Now he's holding another position, and he's Ukrainian as well. And he was super supportive. So there was around 10 of us in Ukraine in the process of relocation or working from Ukraine temporarily. And Grisha immediately created the Telegram channel with all of us. He was checking daily on all of us, how we are doing, where we are, if we were able to reach to the border, if we crossed the border, if we need any documents, if we need any support whatsoever. It was so nice and to receive that support, really. And I was like, we also received all our relocation benefits, all our money, like for 4 months, like 4 months salaries, everything at once, just to make sure that we have everything we need to feel a little bit more safe or something. It was tough period, but I felt very supported.
I can imagine the CEO of the company being so attentive, and it's so refreshing to hear, because even with the economy now and 2
Yeah.
years later, the situation, all these companies laying people off and chiefs just not being that close with their workforce,
Yeah.
being so distant and not even understanding what they're going through. So the fact that he took time out of his busy schedule, his busy day, to make the telegram, reach out to you all
Yeah.
every day, you said, right?
Every single day he was checking on all of us, like if we're okay, if we're safe, if we're getting closer to the border, if we need any support with accommodation, because it was also not possible to book any hotel or whatsoever in the west part of Ukraine, because like half of the country moved there, you know. So he was also checking if we need any help with accommodation or whatever. And yeah, actually I was staying at I was back then, I was there in the Lviv region, so the countryside, and we were like looking for apartment to stay because we couldn't cross the border right away. It was too loaded with people, so we had to stay for some period of time to wait for until all like the crowds will kind of the situation will be better on the board. And we were looking for accommodation, and then of course Grisha was checking every day, asking like how we are doing. I was like, well, I'm looking for accommodation, I cannot find it. If anyone has any leads, please let me know. And then of course he's Ukrainian, his wife is from Ukraine, from that region where I was staying. And like his wife, she asked, I think it was her aunt's friend apartment, and it was available, and they were like, you can stay there. So I, like, me and my husband, we stayed there for a while, and I think it was the only option how we could actually find the apartment via someone, because it was not like, you imagine, booking is not working, everything was overloaded, like, yeah. So that was also a big help.
Wow. So it just shows you as well that community
Yeah,
essence is so
exactly.
important.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think like on the day the war started, our like Ukrainian spirit and our Ukrainian like belonging like raised momentarily, I would say. Like even people who were not too patriotic back then, they were like, wow, we need to stick together, we need to support each other, and everyone kind of yeah, became very supportive right away.
Yeah. And then, wow. So it sounds really stressful to like
Yeah.
not only start a new job,
Yeah.
relocate.
Yeah.
That's so stressful.
Yeah.
But then be in the midst of a war
Yeah. Yeah.
and everything is.
Yeah, yeah, it was quite stressful, but yeah, my manager as well, he was super supportive. All our leadership, they were super supportive, and like I didn't work for a month. I just I couldn't, and my manager, they were supporting me, and like they were like, okay, take as much time as you need, do whatever you feel best for yourself, for your family. Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional. Do whatever you feel best for yourself, and you don't need to work. Take your time. And
Yeah.
I was not working. I just,
No.
yeah. And it was,
It's so important. I feel like as people who, well, the coverage of the war is no longer visible unless you go and
exactly.
find it
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
We're so protected, I feel like, in the Western world, in the Western
Yeah.
society, that we only got glimpses of it. We didn't really immerse or understand like what was truly happening. So just hearing it from you and
Yeah.
Miro, and I'm sure other companies as well, being really supportive and
Yeah.
making people take time, I think that's just normal, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't focus and be your true
Yeah.
self at work
No.
with
No.
all of this going on.
Yeah, and I think like most of the companies, like all the companies I know, all the people I know who are Ukrainians who are working in international companies, any companies, they were super supportive. They like, yeah, the people had enough time for themselves. People didn't
Yeah.
have any meetings, nothing. Like they were not approached by the employers at all. They're like, okay, just take your time. This is our support. This is your financial support as well. Anything. So yeah.
Yeah. And I still hear it now that people from Ukraine are still trying to come to Amsterdam
Yeah.
to find tech jobs in particular.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're like, of course, because the war continues and it doesn't seem like going to end soon. Yeah, people are continuously moving out from Ukraine, unfortunately, and most of them, I must say, they plan to come back to Ukraine once the war is over.
Yeah.
But it's a temporary solution. They need to come somewhere where it's safe. So there are a lot of tech people, not only tech, but there are a lot of tech people that I know that I don't know. They're coming to Netherlands, they're coming to Germany, they're coming to EU and looking
Yeah.
for a job. And like, because I'm a recruiter, of course, I review like hundreds of resumes on a weekly basis, right? And I receive all of those resumes from Ukrainians, from like I see they are Ukrainians, they are from my home city, or they're from the city where I lived, from Kiev or whatever. And more resumes are coming from Ukraine. More and more people coming from Ukraine looking for tech jobs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a big shift, I think, in the market in Netherlands, because back then, like 2022, 2021, 2019, they were relocating people from Ukraine. They were like
Yeah.
headhunting them, like especially engineers, developers, like product people. They were headhunted, they were reached out, they were offered relocation support. And of course, like not everyone were ready for that. Not everyone were planning to come to work and live in the EU. And right
Yeah.
now they're coming. And so I think the market also changed here.
Yeah, there was such high demand those 3 years.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
really booming in the Netherlands. We were looking for all sorts, DevOps, engineers, data analysts, and from my experience in Eastern Europe, everyone, that's a generalization, sorry, but from my experience as a recruiter, people there are highly educated and have like robust CVs, really, really strong, don't they? Like tech
Yeah.
background and experience, UX, UI designers,
Yeah.
damn, some of the best talent in
Yeah.
Eastern Europe.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's true. Most of the cases, it's very common in Ukraine to get higher education. So most of like all of my friends, they have at least bachelor's degree, if not master's. So and our universities are like specific, especially like tech universities, like those like for engineers, for designers, they are very strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what like this foundation, I think that like education is kind of a must have in Ukraine. I don't know where it come from, but I always knew that I need to go to uni. I always knew that I need to finish bachelor's and then master's. I didn't even have an idea like that I can go and work straight after school, or I didn't have an idea that I will not have a degree. Like I was like, and I think most of the Ukrainians, especially if you're in bigger cities, you are like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like most of my Ukrainian, Romanian, Polish friends have masters and they are so meticulous. Like their work is their craft almost. Like even
Yeah.
my friend who's Polish, who's an office manager. Oh my gosh, she's the best office manager
Yeah.
I've ever worked with or ever seen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so insanely good at what she does. So being in the tech recruitment industry, right, for a large company, what have you seen the challenges are for Ukrainians or Eastern Europeans, for example, trying to come to Amsterdam?
Most of the people that are coming right now, they were not planning to move abroad, right? And
Hmm.
they were not aware about the type of companies, size of the companies, like which companies to apply for. And this is the main thing, that they need to learn everything from scratch. You imagine coming to a new country and you see all those brands, all those logos, and you don't know them, and you don't know anything about their reputation, anything about the culture of the company. So every single application that they need to do right now, they need to learn everything.
Yeah.
They don't know what Picnic is as a company. They don't know what Miro is. They don't know what like the yeah, some companies that are very well known here in Netherlands, they don't know them. So they need to learn everything about them, about their culture, of course, before they apply. So I think it takes much more time and efforts for them to prepare the application, in case, of course, they invest time in that. Because sometimes, as I think the other challenge for Ukrainians who are coming to Netherlands right now and applying for the job is the interviewing process.
Hmm.
I think because it's a different like type of interviews, different complexity of the interviews and length, the number of interviews here in Netherlands, 5 interviews for job, like 2 technical assessment for tech roles, like several team rounds, leadership interview, recruiter screen, like number of interviews. And in Ukraine, they try to make it more like faster and easier.
Hmm.
And of course, the the mentality, like, because in Ukraine, when if you would do interviews, you would do interviews with, with Ukrainian recruiters, with Ukrainian teams, you
Speaking your native
speaking
language.
your native
Yeah.
language. Of course, you will have one or two interviews in English just to assess your English level. Yeah, that's also a big challenge because people, even they are good in their job, they're amazing engineers, they're amazing project managers, they're super clever, super experienced, but they are not experienced in specifically conducting interview in English. So I think it's a very big challenge for most of them. Yeah.
So can you imagine there's stuff going on back at home in the back of your mind always? You're in a strange country, you're in a different country,
Exactly.
learning the market,
Yeah.
applying for jobs, the stress of applying for jobs,
Yeah.
particularly if you didn't get relocated from a company.
Exactly.
English isn't your first language. So you have to interview and showcase yourself. So I guess you have a lot of imposter syndrome
Yeah.
with this.
For sure. I feel like, well, I feel like most of us, like most of Ukrainians, we do have a strong imposter syndrome. And this is something that we are not talking about in Ukraine. And this is something that we barely acknowledge. We are always underestimating ourselves for some reason. I don't know, maybe that's how it, yeah, some part of our mentality or some part of our culture and thing that we're always trying to be modest, trying to be like shy. We don't shout about our success. We don't really sell ourselves. Like when we are applying for the job, we think that our experience will talk for itself. But apparently, it is not always the case. Apparently, you really need to showcase what you've done with the achievements you have, and you really need to speak loud about that if you want to get a job. Because if what's okay in Ukraine, just doing your job the best you can, is not really enough here in Netherlands. Especially when you're applying, you don't really just need to do your job best, but you also need to interview your best. It's actually another skill, that they need to get, that they need to learn. You're good at your job, that's amazing, and then you need to be good at interviewing. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for Ukrainians when they are looking for a job right now, because here in Europe we have a lot of people from everywhere, especially in Amsterdam. We have a lot of Americans who are excellent at interviewing. Whenever I talk to anyone from the US, I don't even need to ask questions. They already have everything lined up.
Yeah.
If I miss something, they will be like, "Oh, following up on that question, I would like to add this." So they are amazing in preparing themselves for the interview. They might not be as good sometimes in their job, like the experience might be less, but they are interviewing so well
Yeah.
that the Ukrainian will be like missing out. So that's something that we need to learn.
I agree. They are natural storytellers.
Exactly.
Even if you I've heard if you go to a restaurant or you go to a store, the way they approach you, they're almost naturally PR trained.
Maybe they study it at school or something.
Yeah.
When they present the presentations in the kindergarten.
Yeah, I agree. They're so immaculate. I mean, I think our very first episode with Melanie, who's from New York, she was, she didn't stutter. She didn't go back on her words. She didn't mispronounce something. It was just so slow and articulate. Everything she said, I was like, I'm so jealous.
Exactly, right?
But probably because they only speak maybe just one language and maybe.
Yeah, I think definitely that's a big advantage. If you do the interview in your native language, of course you know way more words, you are way better articulated. So for sure, yeah.
Your brain isn't preoccupied.
Yeah, your brain is not translating every single word. Your brain does not really think about the grammar, what to say. So, and you imagine most of the tech people in Ukraine, of course they have the customers from abroad. Of course they work with the international team members, but most of the teams, it would be a setting of 50% Ukrainians, 50%, I don't know, Italians in the team. That's what my husband had. And of course the level of the level of English, it was not as high. The expected level of English, it was not that high. Their main task for developers to write a clean code, to find the solutions, right? And they only need to explain a little bit about what the idea is. And it's not that what expected here in Netherlands will be at the interview, at the team rounds, for example, or at the the hiring manager, the values interview, for example, when you need to like demonstrate number of competencies, and then you need to follow the star method, and then you need to also think about the cases from your past and the translate it in English. So it's additional challenge, I think, for not only for Ukrainians, actually, I think for everyone who is not a native English speaker. I think it's extra challenge, and I think it's good for hiring teams and hiring managers to be aware about that every single time when they interview people who are not native English speakers. You need to give them a benefit that this is not their first language and they're doing so well. So
Yeah, you touched on something earlier about working loudly, which is, I think, a very Dutch dash Amsterdam culture.
yeah.
So yeah, even if you don't have friends here or colleagues here that can explain that to you, it is a bit crazy, isn't it? Because if you are more shy, more introvert, or you're
Exactly.
used to a different way of working, that's a really big shock.
Yeah.
Going to like posting every day on LinkedIn and
No, like this is something that we really don't do in like most of us. It's not in our culture to shout about work, to shout about our achievements. We really think that like the results will talk for itself. But of course, it's a different environment. Here you really like, and it's important, I think, for everyone, like to celebrate your achievements, to talk about your achievements, and to be loud about that, to promote yourself inside of the organization where you are at, to promote yourself outside of the organization. And I think what is also new for Ukrainians is the networking part, right? Because this is also a part of when you promote yourself and when you talk about your achievements. And I think what I also noticed that we don't really network when we have a job, and we only go for networking events when we don't have a job. And then it's too late. You're already in the rush looking for a job, and you kind of need to remember, okay, what were my achievements? Now I need to showcase it. Now I need to, bring it all together to kind of demonstrate it. And so it's another thing.
Oh my God, I want to make a short TikTok about that explicitly because I think it's a problem all around. The amount of times I've gone to like tech mixers or recruitment events, and then you just see the people who are very comfortable and like just talking, just building their network, versus the people who, and I don't blame anyone, but like you said, it's kind of like a crisis situation. Like shit, I need to network now. This is the way to do it. And you just see the difference with someone just being like, oh, where are you working? Oh, is your company hiring? Like that
Exactly.
pushiness.
That pushiness. This is also something like, I think it's also like not only Ukrainians, but also a lot of people who are not recruiters, who are not extroverts as individuals. Of course, for them, it's challenging already to come to this networking event, right? And of course, they don't make efforts to come to those networking events when they have a job, right? So when they are already looking for a job and then they are coming to the when they push themselves outside of their comfort zone already. So it's already an effort for them to come to that event and then to even talk to you or to talk to someone and tell them, I'm looking for a job. Where is your company hiring? That's already an effort. That's why it would be great idea to practice that when you already have a job and you feel more confident when you are coming to those networking events. You're not looking for anything. You're here just to meet new people, to talk, to introduce yourself, to bring some connection, to build some connections. And then if you are not looking for the job, you are not in a difficult position when you need to kind of network just because you really need that. You're pushing yourself. Just do it. Like I would advise to everyone, just occasionally attending some networking events when then people are busy with their job and then they are not looking for anything. It will really be helpful for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and whilst you're employed, you are invited to more things.
Exactly. Especially if you are employed at some good company. Not. I mean, the company that has strong brand and reputation. If you're employed there, of course, you will be invited everywhere. But of course, with the layoffs, like recent couple of years, with the economical environment, you even if you're at a big cool company, you still need to build your network. You still need to, because you never know what's going to happen next. The situation changes so fast.
It does, yeah. And a good friend of mine, Joey Coxall, said it so perfectly. The quote: "It's not who you know anymore; it's who knows you."
Good one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's a good one.
yeah. It's so true. It's just flipped the
Mm,
script. It's no
mm-hmm.
longer like it used to be the devs market, didn't it? Like the
Exact.
engineers market.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just completely flipped around. It's now the
Yeah.
hiring market. It's the employers market.
Yeah, it's shifted so much. I also noticed that, like, I have friends from uh, like cool tech companies here in Amsterdam. Like, they were headhunted. They would receive like, I don't know, 10 messages every single day. They are like in senior like engineering roles. And now then they are looking at the market. They're like, there is there are only a few cool companies hiring, and there is no role open of my seniority level or something. So market shifted so much, and that like talents that were normally like approached and headhunted, they're like, okay, well, maybe I will stay where I am right
Hmm.
now, because it doesn't look like something cool is opening right now. So market shifted completely.
I don't know if you've seen this as a tech recruiter, but the in mails I sent many years ago or even months ago to developers saying like, "Hey, are you looking for work?" Or just chasing you, like
Yeah,
DMing them two to
exactly.
three times. Now they're coming back to me,
Yes,
accepting the
yes,
message and saying, "Oh, I'm
exactly.
looking now."
Exactly. I also
Yeah.
well, I of course for Miro, I was mostly hiring for marketing roles, so it's totally different industry, totally different personas and people. It's not engineers, of course, but we were also like I was also hiring for the roles that are in high demand, like growth marketing, like performance marketing, the paid marketing, which is
Yeah.
like the roles that are in the high demand. And yeah, the messages that were sent, like, well, with marketing it's shifted, but not that much as with the engineering side, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
but still, like for product marketing roles, I would receive the resumes from Google and Meta, and before I would need to approach them. And not like last year, this year, like people like of very senior product roles, they're just applying to us and they're reaching out to me. I'm like, wow, market shifted.
Hearing that, and especially if we've got some Ukrainian audience today, like listening and watching this, and hearing people from Meta and Google
Exactly.
are applying and I have to compete with them,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sounds a bit scary, doesn't it?
It is very challenging market right now, I think, for everyone coming into, yeah, looking for a job, looking for the job in tech, I think. And also if for Ukrainians, of course, they are, yeah, especially for those who are coming from abroad, it's more challenging to compete with people, because if you imagine, like that's what I just said, like if I receive candidate applying from Meta or Google, and then I also receive a candidate's resume applying from the companies that I don't really know, their product is smaller or something that is not such a, not in our industry, or not a big product, not such a widely used product, and the size of the organization that they worked for is way smaller. So you imagine the processes that they faced, like the how the way they worked is totally different. So
Mm.
it's very challenging for them to understand how to showcase their experience best, that would like be applicable to the roles that they are applying for. That's why when I see all those resumes, all those applicants from Ukraine, I'm always thinking like, okay, they need some tips. They need some help from people who are already here working for those cool companies. And there are a lot of Ukrainians who moved here to Netherlands many years ago, like 5 years ago, 7 years ago. My sister moved here 7 years ago. So there are a lot of people who are already here. They're from Ukraine, and they are already there at those Googles, at those IDNs, at those bookings, and they can share their expertise with their folks from Ukraine. And they can share their knowledge, like what it feels like to work at this company, what kind of like values they have, what kind of expertise you need to showcase to actually apply and to be successful. That's actually why I came with the idea of organizing the Ukrainian in Tech event. and community in order to bring Ukrainians closer together to share their experience and knowledge with each other. Because, I working at Miro, I know a lot of Ukrainians working for cool tech organizations. And I'm sure they also have a lot of friends working at other cool tech organizations. So why don't we come together and share our knowledge and experience with those who are new to the country, who are new to the market, and who will be as successful as we are in 1 year time or in 2 years time. So that's the thing that we are doing together with Svetlana, my partner, who is the also co-leader of Ukrainians at Miro ERG, and that's what we are building together with her. This community, Ukrainians in Tech. For now, it's Ukrainians in Tech in Netherlands, but who knows?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's becoming really, because I also heard about it before, it's becoming really popular.
It's in a high demand. Yeah, as we just talked, like there are a lot of Ukrainians who found themselves abroad with the war in Ukraine, and they are looking for connections. They are looking for friends. They are looking to network. They are looking for, I don't know, if you end up if you find yourself in the new country, you need to build your network. You need to build some friendly connections, and you need to get some insights about what's happening there, what's happening here. And the event that we organized in February, it was in such a huge demand. I think we have more than 100 people registered for the event, and I think we had around 60 people participating eventually. We also have the limit of space, like 50, 55, because I'm organizing this event at Miro office. And we did zero marketing. We did zero, like nothing.
No outreach.
No outreach. I just created the event on LinkedIn, and everyone from my network on LinkedIn, they just liked and shared the event. And then someone copied the link and shared it in some Telegram channel for Ukrainians in tech. And that's like, it just grew like organically, and it's just the proof of how important it is and how needed it is for Ukrainians, right now to build those connections and find new friends or new people that they can talk to.
It sounds wow. Like it's so powerful how word of mouth can just exploit something like this, right? In a good way. And I can imagine it going Europe wide because there's people in France, like you said, people in Germany as well, that relocated there, Poland as well, for example. They want to share their knowledge, experience, or even traumas, right, with other people who are going through it.
Exactly. And the people who are already abroad, they are trying to be supported to their Ukrainian fellows who were pushed to live abroad, right? So it's also like we as Ukrainians, we are trying to do our best right now to help each other, to support each other. And I think it's not too much efforts for me to share my expertise in recruitment. It doesn't take too much efforts for me to explain like what are the top companies here in Netherlands, what how they are hiring, what you need to show normally, like what the hiring process normally look like, and what are the best practices, how to create the resume, and like how important it is to be prepared for the resume, for the interview. So all this kind of basic stuff, I know this, but as a recruiter, but someone might not know that, and it's not so much efforts for me just to share this information. Same as for product, for example, guys, like they know so much about how the product is being built at tech companies here in Europe, and it might be different from how it's built in Ukraine. Might be not different, but it's good to get those insiders information, like from your friend, from your colleague, future colleague.
Yeah, it
And
sounds
so
like such a valuable time spent, right? Going to this
exactly.
event and learning from so many
Oh my
people.
God, I received so many positive comments and messages. People were reaching out to me saying like, wow, it was such an amazing event. I met so many cool people. I met people from my home city who I never met and who are like working for this cool tech company. Like there were so many stories. And of course the event was back then in February, but up till now I would receive messages, I don't know, on a weekly basis, people saying like, so when is the next event? When is the next event? I'm like, yeah, we will announce it soon. We didn't want to organize event on summer because, people are on holidays, it's in a high demand. This is something that like people really need right now. And another fun fact, while we were talking about bringing this community like abroad as well, not only in Netherlands, I was actually approached by one of my colleagues from recruitment from Miro, from Berlin, and she was like, "Tell me more about that event. How did it go? How do I organize it here in Berlin? I would love to do that."
Yeah,
I
you
was like,
have to do it.
yeah, so she reached out to me, and she wanted to organize this in Berlin. I think it's somewhere in progress right now, but yeah, that would be cool. Like also to have this event in our other office, like because I'm thinking right now where we can have it, like because of course we don't have much budget, so we need to utilize the Miro budget, like the Ukrainians ERG Miro budget. So yeah, so that could be possible.
Yeah, Berlin is buzzing.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's the talent community there. I have a few friends who moved actually from Amsterdam to Berlin and found jobs so easily.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Not German speaking either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
cool.
really booming, the market there
Interesting.
at the moment. So, okay, the market is booming. But then again, if you just find yourself in Berlin and you don't have connections and you don't know how to interview, you are still stuck, right? Even as a very professional, experienced person.
Yeah, that was wanted to talk about as well, that we just touched upon it in the very beginning of the conversation, that you really need to practice your interviewing skills and you really need to master them if you want to get and land in the job that you really want, because yeah, as I said, like you can be as amazing as you are in your job, but if you are not amazing in the interviewing, it might be this case that the company will go with another candidate because they will just think that their like communication skills or like the stakeholder management skills or negotiation skills are better or something,
Yeah, and I know a fantastic Ukrainian career coach. Her name is Anastasia Serafin. She was one of our best performing episodes on the podcast.
Wow.
And she talks about job satisfaction and asking for what you want. So go to that episode if you want to get those insights. And she's also open for coaching for these very topics, interviewing, promotions and stuff. So
I think this is also something that I think we need to pay attention to or make time and money for that, the coaching sessions. I think because the market is so difficult right now, the tech market, especially in Netherlands. You need, as soon as you get the job interview, you need to show your best to get the role, right? Because the competition is so high. It's not the candidates market anymore. So company can choose like out of top talents right now. So if you want to land a good job, you need to perhaps either have your recruiter friend coaching you, either like another friend of yours coaching you, either the real coach, like the coaching you on how to do the interviews, or just ask your friend to practice the interview with you, to get someone's opinion about how are you doing, how you introducing yourself, how you talk in general,
Yeah, a trusted source. Yeah. And I'm finding a lot, even when people are asking for this on Reddit, on Instagram, or even on LinkedIn, like, are there local career coaches? There's the AI spammy fake accounts who comment straight away. I've seen it. Even if someone has a green banner and says I'm open and uses the hashtag, it's instantly like 3 or 4 bots like, I'm a coach. And you can fall into that trap.
Well, yeah, do your research, of course. Yeah. Ask for testimonials. Check out the feedback part in the on LinkedIn page below. You can see if people received a lot of feedback about their coaching experience, about their skills and work. Yeah.
Or go to a Ukrainian tech event.
Yeah, or go to that one, and meet new connections, meet new friends, and ask them to share their opinion on how are you doing. Yeah, you can find a lot of recruiters there as well.
Yeah.
And you can meet them, you can talk to them. Maybe they will find time also to review your resume and give you some heads up or tips about what could be better in there.
Wow, it sounds incredible. How do I find this event? Is it on Telegram? Is it on Meetup?
Yeah, well, right now I have posted it on LinkedIn. So I created event on LinkedIn and it's there. There is also a registration form, just a simple Google form. So you can find it there. I think we will not be creating it on any of the platform external because I want to have all the data on all people in one place. I don't want them to be registered here and there. So for now, it's only on LinkedIn. And I think it's a very good platform because I think that's the main platform where you look for the job right now.
Yeah. And we'll put your URL for your LinkedIn profile in the description as
thank
well.
you.
So people, or maybe we could put the URL for the event, so it's easier for people to access.
Yeah, thank you for doing it. And I must say that this will not be a huge event, right? Because like it will be like 60 people maximum because
Yeah.
of the limits of our office space, like the area that I booked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Have you guys thought about like virtual? Because there's so much demand.
Actually, we did like because we are building community and connections, and so we really wanted to want people to meet in person. So for virtual event, it's a little bit more challenging to build the community with the virtual event, I think. And also like the main idea is actually to meet people, to build those kind of first connections and you to perhaps like, build stronger relationships with them between each other. So this could be a great addition as extra events in between of our, I don't know, regular meetups in person. It could be a good idea to think about it because we have a lot of people interested in being speakers and
Cool.
sharing their knowledge. And that could be a good platform where they could just, share like their expertise about certain topic. Yeah. Good one. Good one.
Product people could be good. Recruiters, HR
Yeah, exactly.
as well.
Yeah. And we asked like, in my form, I asked like what kind of topics are interesting for you to talk, to listen to learn about. And yeah, it appeared to be that, of course, the interviewing tips, the resume preparation tips, the all this kind of job search related stuff are in high demand as well.
Yeah. And you had a story, didn't you? Because the event, the one in February, was in Amsterdam, in Leidseplein, right?
Yeah.
And some people traveled for it, didn't they?
Yes. Wow. Well, I had two people coming to the event, and they told me like one of them, they came from Groningen in Netherlands. I think it's 2 hours ride from Groningen by car, and they're like, really, I wanted to meet more Ukrainians in tech. I really wanted to learn more about what's happening, and they came. They were driving for 2 hours, and then they had to drive 2 hours back, and the event was finished at 9 p.m. or something. So they arrived home at 11 p.m. or something. And the other person, I think they came over from Germany, from either Dortmund or Düsseldorf, like which is also like 3 hours drive or something.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was really, really, it means that people really need that. They really need those like connections. They really need this like in-person meetings because they could reach out to me or to any other person on LinkedIn, right? But that's not the same when you meet that person in person, right?
Yeah.
This was something new that I found out when I moved here to Netherlands, and I was surprised in a good way that we have ERG here at Miro called Ukrainians of Miro ERG, which is Employee Resource Group that supports diversity and inclusion and belonging. So basically, it's a safe space for every different groups with different like ethnicity or different background or something culture in common. So for example, we have ERG like women and allies. We have specific ERG that supports women internally at Miro, that creates events for them, that creates learning opportunities for them, that I don't know, brings like learning materials. For example, I also as a part of ERG Women and Allies at Miro, I got a book like to learn more about the psychology and and challenges that women are facing in the tech industry. So when I moved here and joined Miro, I found out that we already have Ukrainians of Miro ERG, and it's one of 12 ERGs that we have at Miro, and we have, I think, 45 members as of now. So we have 45 Ukrainians that are members of our ERG, and of course every company, like they provide the budget to the ERG, and we can organize any activities, events that we think are valuable for Mironeers, for us as ERG members. So our mission is to bring awareness to the situation in Ukraine, to educate our colleagues about the culture of Ukraine, not only about the situation that there is war happening in Ukraine right now, but also about how beautiful country it is, like what kind of like cuisine we have, what are our national dishes, like what is our national art. Like the music and stuff. So the ERGs, they support like this safe space, and they also kind of give us space where we can celebrate our community, ourselves, and of course, so like being in war right now, Ukrainians also support each other a lot, and we also organize events to raise donations. So we organized a couple of auctions here at Miro internally, only for Mironeers, to raise money to support Ukrainians. And there was several good cause that we wanted to raise money for, and it was amazing because there was so many people showed up to this event at our Miro office here in Amsterdam, and yeah, you feel that support, and this is something that is very much needed. So loved it.
It sounds like it's thriving in Amsterdam, and now you have to go to Berlin and the other offices to show what you've done.
Exactly. Yeah, well, luckily or not luckily, the situation is that we have most of Ukrainians at Miro who are based in Amsterdam, right? And of course, we want to bring awareness to our Mironeers who are in other cities of the world, but we don't have that many Ukrainians based there. So if we have like a couple of people in Berlin, it will be very challenging for them to organize everything by themselves. So it's in our plans to organize something, but we need to really go there and organize it there.
Yeah, a new challenge for you.
A new challenge, yeah.
So how can listeners get involved or support the initiatives that you guys have?
Good question. Well, show up to our community event. Reach out to me or Svetlana Gond on LinkedIn, and we will share the trusted causes, the trusted organization for donations for Ukraine. And yeah, just ask your friend, your colleague Ukrainian, how they are doing, and if they need any help, any support. And most of us Ukrainians, they have someone in Ukraine still, or someone who is in the army still, and they would have the need, like financial need to help the army, or financial need to help some hospitals in Ukraine. So if you approach any Ukrainian at all and ask them how I can help, where I can donate, they will tell you where to go, how to donate in a safe way, into a trusted source right away. And I think that's the best help that you can do. Ask Ukrainians how they are doing, and ask how you can help. And by help, like what we mostly need is donations right now.
Oh, wow. And my inbox is open as well. I'm a sucker for helping people when they send me a DM and ask me for CV review or LinkedIn review, or point to the right direction for a job. So my inbox is also open. But I think it has to come from us because, like you said, cultural difference.
Yeah.
People are a bit more to themselves, so maybe they find it difficult to actually just take that plunge and send a message.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, well, that's why it's important to have those ERGs at the organization, and that's why it's important that those ERGs would be visible, and they would cultivate the culture within the organization and the awareness. So for like we organize like last event that we organized internally at Miro, it was Ukrainian Easter breakfast. So we normally have breakfasts at Miro on Friday and Tuesday. So we were like, okay, let's turn out to one of the Fridays breakfast, which is close to our Ukrainian Easter day. It was in spring in May. To Ukrainian Easter breakfast, and let's give opportunity to our colleagues to learn more about like how we celebrate Easter in Ukraine, and at the same time to give them opportunity to donate for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because yeah, of course, like people they don't feel comfortable perhaps just to come and ask you how are you doing. Maybe you are not in a good shape. Maybe you feel stressed and you just don't want to talk about the situation in Ukraine. That might happen too. And I feel like everyone who approached me at Miro, they're always so sensitive, and they're always like, are you okay talking about this? Do you want like how are you? Do you want to talk about something? I'm like, thank you for asking that. I'm totally fine. Like, of course I can talk about this, and then of course I want to talk about this. So by organizing some small events inside of the organization, it really helps, like because people in most of the cases they want to be supportive, but they don't know how. But if you give them that space, the platform, then they it's easier for them to do that.
That's a really good thing to touch upon, because as an external person who has Ukrainian friends, I always find myself talking about something else and just avoiding, because I just presume like this person just doesn't want to even talk about it, right?
Yeah, I get this feeling. I know, like, yeah, it's, some of my also friends and colleagues from who are not Ukrainians, who are external, they also well, yeah, the best thing that you can do, like, yeah, is if you feel like you want to know, if you feel like you want to ask them something, ask them. You like everyone knows that Ukraine is happening. Everyone knows that Ukrainians are going through the difficult period in their life. So if by not talking about this, by avoiding this situation, it does not disappear anyway, right? It's still there. So
Yeah.
whatever works. I feel like also people are very individual in their like how they cope with their emotions during this situation, during these 2.5 years now. So yeah, it also depends on the people who you are talking to. Someone might be expecting you to talk to them about that. Someone might be like, no, let's don't talk. I don't feel like I have energy and power to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I also know that there are some people, Ukrainians, who, because of, yeah, it's very hard to understand from the outside, if you're not Ukrainian, how challenging the situation is, that some of Ukrainians, they feel lack of empathy from the colleagues or from the friends, or so the thing that my co-leader Svetlana always says, like, educate yourself, just go and learn just check the news, like what's happening in Ukraine, and that's it. That's how you know. Yeah, that's I think the easiest.
Yeah. So if I'm not at Miro and I don't have exposure to the initiatives that you have, is there a way I can find out about how I can attend events or other things you're
Yeah,
doing?
good one. Well, we have our Miro Life blog on our website, and we always post information there about the communities and the events that we have, that we organize there. And of course, yeah, just follow people on LinkedIn, the one that are in your field of interest, like recruiters, for example.
Yeah.
Just
So
follow me.
follow Karyna, follow
Yeah,
Svetlana,
Svetlana,
Miro.
yeah. And we always post everything on LinkedIn. If we organize something, it's always there. Yeah. Yeah, well, if it's external event, we also use the platform like Eventbrite and similar. We always post the events with our external partners, like for product folks, for example. It's always there.
Yeah, for me, it's more as like a company and an individual to see how, like, because you're setting the standards
Mhm.
with this. You're really like putting budget and prioritizing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I think it's just good inspiration for people who work at companies and don't really know how to navigate this, to just get inspiration from you and read your company blogs and see how you're doing it. And then,
Exactly. Yeah, I think this blog is the best place to learn about what's really happening. Because in blog at Miro, it's written by us, by Mironeers, about like what we are doing there. There's also my article about the being a
oh,
co-leader of Ukrainians at Miro ERG.
we'll have to put the URL for that
As
one
well.
specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be nice. And so the other folks who are also being amazing at building community, or organizing events, or like organizing, for example, one of my colleagues, she recently organized a program for the fresh graduates to who will be joining Miro as the engineers for the fresh graduate roles. There is also a blog about that.
Wow.
So there is everything from what's happening inside you can learn and read there.
Wow. It's so transparent. I love it.
Yeah.
It's how it should be.
Yeah, we're building the diverse and transparent culture here at Mira, so yeah, why not?
Sounds like an amazing company to be part of.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm here.
Are you glad to be on the podcast? As
Both,
well,
both.
sharing.
Of course, I've actually. I think I was very excited when you approached me. I think someone connected us. Actually, I
They
think
did. Yeah.
it was yeah, someone also from the recruitment, Jennifer. I don't from
Or Rico, maybe. Was it Rico? I'm not sure. Or
yeah,
Jennifer. I'm not
it's
sure. It
someone.
was, I spoke to
Yeah,
both. Yeah.
yeah.
But Karyna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you
We
so
will
much
have
for
to
inviting.
invite you next year to see how the October event went and the events next year as
Yeah,
well.
looking forward. Thank you for inviting me.